Okay, that was insane. What Josh pulled off was insane. Okay, Josh Man, this guy who I'm trying to look alike today, Josh predicted an $84,000 Bitcoin, and he also predicted MicroStrategy, now rebranded as Strategy, was going to collapse in price well before it actually happened. What on earth did this guy know? How did he do it? And most importantly, how can you copy his ultimate goal, which is buy more Bitcoin? In this video, we're going to talk about all those things. We're going to go over what happened, the probability that it happened, that he actually insanely got it right, and how you can end up with more Bitcoin. Let's dive into it. So for those of you that don't know or that were living under a rock, Josh Mann, back in November of 2024, predicted that on March 14th, Bitcoin would be $84,000 on the dot, quote unquote. And what happened is that on March 14th, Bitcoin, at the end of the trading day, UTC time, which is the global time zone for marking the end of the day for trading, it exactly hit $84,000. Okay, this is a live screenshot of somebody posting about it. That yellow line, of course, signaling the exact moment at which March 14th turned into March 15th. And, his commentary there being that, oh man, it's actually going to hit. It's actually going to happen. Just like Josh wrote, just like Josh's prophecy, how on earth did he predict Bitcoin rising and then falling? How on earth did he predict it? Oh my goodness, 12 minutes out, we're going to hit it. It was a very surreal moment. I was watching it live. It was pretty nuts to be seeing the candles like literally being exactly $84,000. Okay. Josh gained like 70,000 followers on Twitter, like within the 24 hours after this happened, because like it literally touched exactly what he said it would. Just insane that he actually was able to do this. I was shocked. I have been watching Josh since I think September of 2024. Very impressed with his work and his transparency with his multi-million-dollar portfolio online, and it's been very impressive. Right? We'll get into the nuances with that. But what's unique about this prediction, right? So see, a lot of us see these market predictions all the time. We see people predict $1 million Bitcoin this year or 50K Bitcoin next year, or lots of YouTube videos saying this is the price Bitcoin's going to. Thumbnail photo, right? All the people that are short time preference trying to make their little predictions. Okay, here's what's shocking about Josh's prediction, in my opinion. The first thing is that Josh's prediction was 100 times more specific than normal. Most people would say, yeah, I think Bitcoin could be between $79,000 to $85,000, in that range. No, Josh said exactly $84,000. Okay, here's the second thing that's shocking. He predicted a specific time, 10 times more specific, right? Someone would, some other trader, some lesser trader would say, I think it's going to be $79,000 to $85,000 Bitcoin sometime between mid to late March of 2025. No, Josh said March 14th, end of the day. And he was willing to bet on specifically the end of the day. When other people offered him to bet at the end of March, he wouldn't take it. He said March 14th. He was saying that since November. Here's the other thing. He put tens of millions of dollars on the line. Okay, not literally. He wasn't betting anybody $10 million on the line, but he did have very strong positions and convictions in MicroStrategy going down, right? Keep in mind the market sentiment in November, right? Bitcoin was at $74,000, $75,000. We were on the way up. We still had higher to go. And then we reversed, then we rolled over, and then we went down to exactly $84,000, precisely when he said we would. And he positioned his multi-deca-million-dollar strategy portfolio with both with underlying shares and with options and stuff. He positioned it predicting Bitcoin would go down basically to this range. And he was consistent for months. Most people, if they have a prediction, even a tenth as specific as his conviction, they would change it a couple weeks later and say, well, in light of new information, or in light of changing RSI divergence, or in light of blah, 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 in light of some change, I'm going to change my prediction now, right? But the crazy thing with Josh is that this was one of the only predictions he had. And he was very consistent with it. He was posting memes about it. He was talking about it. When everyone in MicroStrategy was saying, oh, you're wrong, Josh. You're such a bear for saying it's going to be under $200, $300 or whatever, right? Oh, you're such a bear. And then when it started falling, he's like, oh, well, Josh, blah, blah, blah. People are making fun of him on the way up and on the way down. And that's crazy to me. He kept consistent throughout the entire 3-month period. His answers, and this is the other thing I think is part of the meme ability with this $84,000 prediction, my honest prediction, and honest opinion, is that when people asked him, how did you know, Josh? How did you know, right? I was texting Josh. Other people were texting Josh. I'm sure he was overwhelmed. People were asking him on Twitter, okay, Josh, okay, cut the crap. How'd you do it? How did you do it, Josh? And like every time he was asked that, he would have pretty funny or strange or cosmic and borderline mystic answers. He was saying, "Oh, I saw a prediction in Tower 7 30 years ago in the 1990s, or this and that." I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, Josh. I just am wearing a shirt similar to him. I don't know. I don't know. He says he's like different dimensional kind of funky stuff, simulation. I don't know. But that, I think, is part of what made this moment like the only thing talked about in all of Bitcoin, because it was really weird. It was really strange. Like he has refused to give any hint or answer as to why he's able to do that, right? Again, like I was watching this real time. I was speechless. 129 days. Josh predicted literally the price within $30. It's just, that's insane. I have not seen anything like it. So let's talk about reality. What are the odds he actually do this? I saw people, as soon as this happened, saying, "Oh my gosh, this is it. This is proof of simulation theory. Oh my gosh, this was like a 1 in a million shot. How did he do it? Blah, blah, blah." I saw people saying it was a 1 in a million shot, 1 in 15 million shot, 1 in 600 million shot. I want to make something very clear. It was not a 1 in a million shot. It just wasn't. I know it's cool. I know it's crazy. I know we've not seen anything like it before. At least I haven't. In years of being in Bitcoin, I've never seen anything even remotely as impressive as this when it comes to predicting Bitcoin price. But let's be real here. This is not a 1 in a million moonshot. Okay, we're talking a much, much, much less absurd probability. Okay, I asked Grok, and I also did the napkin math. Okay, it's like 1 in 1,000, 1 in a couple thousand chance. Okay, here's why. Okay, here's the reality. Okay, Bitcoin was not only $84,000 on March 14th. Okay, it was not only $84,000 on that day, right? Guess what? Bitcoin is $84,000 literally right now at the time of recording, about a week later, right? It's like Bitcoin can hit $84,000 multiple days in a row, right? And so it's not like it's a one chance fluke, right? If I'm going to predict some Bitcoin price in the future, right? If I'm going to predict some specific price in the future, I mean, like, it doesn't only have to hit that price in one day, right? So yes, it was pretty ridiculous. The Bitcoin price was within $50 of exactly $84,000, which in my opinion is a perfect win. Okay, that's perfect. You can't get closer than that, right? On some exchanges, it said literally exactly $84,000. And other exchanges, like the one I was looking at, it said $84,031, right? It's like, in my opinion, like, doesn't matter. Like, every exchange is going to be a little different. Some are going to say $30 over, others are going to say 30. That's just noise from the exchanges. Like, it doesn't matter. That is statistically, like, it is dead on, right? In my opinion, right? However, between $50,000 a coin and $120,000 a coin, there are only $1,400, $50 ranges. So if you're going to predict a Bitcoin price specifically to the number between 50 grand, 120 grand, 129 days out, and you're very confident it's going to be between that range, like, you got a 1 in 1,400 chance of getting it literally exactly right down to the minute. Is it crazy? Yeah. Is it impossible? No, obviously not, right? So I suppose, like, for example, if I had reason to believe Bitcoin was going to be between $70,000 and $140,000 in, let's say, July of 2025, Luke Broyles, who's not Josh, and is not predicting this, by the way, I could say, theoretically, Bitcoin is going to be exactly $138,000 on July 21st at UTC midnight, right? I can make that prediction, and I'm almost certainly wrong, but it's like a 1 in 1,400, 1 in 2,000 chance that I'm going to do it, right? It's just really, really unlikely, right? Now, here's the other thing to keep in mind. Odds are even better if you're somebody like Josh, who has literally decades of experience working at Solomon Brothers and is, working with a multi-decade $1 million portfolio that has been doing trading with options for many, many, many years, right? I don't trade options with MicroStrategy. I have a tiny little position, but I don't really share that because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm doing it because I want to learn. But most people should definitely not ever touch options when it comes to a highly volatile asset like MicroStrategy, right? So my point is that if you're not somebody like us, but you're on Josh's level where you actually legitimately have decades of experience with tens of trillions of dollars of money under management, if you are somebody like that and you are generally informed with trends and you are an expert in that, right? Like, you can make it even more probable that you're going to be success, right? Like, we've been in this 80K range for a week or multiple weeks now, right? Like, basically a month, we've been between 78 to 85K. Like, we bounced up and down, right? And so if you're somebody like Josh Mann and you're pretty convinced that, hey, we're going to be in the low 80K range in mid-March of 2025, it's an even more probable outcome, right? Like if you're predicting within, instead of a $70,000 range like I gave before, but a mere $10,000 range 129 days from now, then you're making your odds better by like a factor of 10. Well, now it's like a 1% chance or 2% chance that you're going to get it if it was based on randomness alone, right? So my point is that should you be impressed by what Josh did in predicting $84,000 literally 3 months in advance? Yes. Is it crazy? Yes. But it's not crazy for the reason you think. It's not crazy because it's like winning the lottery, right? Winning the lottery is a far, far, far less likely thing to do than to guess Bitcoin price within $50 to $80 130 days from now, right? What is amazing about this conviction, what is shocking about Josh's conviction, and what you should be paying attention about when it comes to his prediction is the conviction he had with it. That is what's amazing, okay? What's amazing is not the odds of guessing the right number alone, but alongside with that, the conviction he had in that guess. He kept it very consistent. He didn't change it. He was willing to bet people on it, and he bet his own portfolio on it, right? You know, not literally to the dollar, but he put a lot of money on the line, right? Sure. If something is, you know, if 1,000 of us, right, maybe 1,000 people are watching this video, every single person in the comments below guesses what they think the price of Bitcoin is going to be in mid-July of this year, right? Like, sure, one of us is going to be dead on the money, right? But what makes it different, what makes it absolutely different, is that not any of us commenting down below has anything on the line. You can comment in the description below, like, I think Bitcoin's going to be $167,522. And maybe you can be right, but are you going to bet 50 grand on it? No. Are you going to bet 5 million on that specific range? No, of course you're not going to, right? None of us actually have the conviction to believe on it. So that's what's shocking about Josh. Not that he got it right, but that his conviction is what makes the story so fascinating to me, right? Along with his explanations of simulations or voices in his head, or I don't know. I think that's what makes the story very intriguing, right? Most people wouldn't have had the bold conviction, including myself, by the way, to bet any money on that, right? I think Bitcoin's going to be higher 60 days from now. Am I willing to bet on that? No. Am I putting my money where my mouth is and buying more instead of holding cash on the sidelines? Absolutely, definitely. However, I'm not going to bet on it, right? Even if my range was a $10,000 range instead of a $50 range, I'm not going to bet on it, right? And so I'm not diminishing Josh's work at all. I'm not diminishing his prediction at all. If we're honest with ourselves, the odds alone weren't absurd, right? It wasn't a 1 in a million moonshot, right? It's like, yeah, I know it was crazy to experience. It seems impossible, but the reality is that it was like a 1 in 2,000 chance. Combine Josh's amazing experience, you're getting to still like a much, much, much more probable, but yet still independently unlikely thing to happen. So it's still amazing. But the fact that he stuck with it in size, and was willing to bet people on it, that's what's amazing, right? If you want to compare odds, it's akin to flipping a coin 10 times in a row. Flipping a coin 10 times in a row is like a 1 in 1,000 chance, more or less, right? 1 in 2 times 1 in 2 times 1 in 2, you know, out 10 times. It's 1 in 1,024. So it's pretty rare, you know, like if I sat here all day and just flipped a coin literally all day, I probably could do it, right? I can flip a coin 1,000 times in a day. Like I probably could do it, maybe even twice in a single day, right? But what's amazing is publicly making a video, making a live stream, let's say, to everyone watching and say, hey, everybody, I'm going to flip a coin. And guess what? The first time I flip it, I'm going to flip it 10 times in a row. And oh, by the way, I'm going to put $10 million on the line that I'm more or less correct, right? You know, I'm going to at least get 5 coin flips in a row, right? Like I'm willing to bet millions of dollars. I'm directionally correct. And I'm predicting I'm going to hit 10 times in a row. It's like, that's just crazy. That's just absurd. And he actually did it, right? If he didn't do it, everybody would forget. Nobody would know who this guy is, right? It's like, it wouldn't matter. Like, frankly, if Bitcoin was $80,000 instead of $84,000 when this time frame came, like, I would have been impressed. I would have still been impressed. Like, dang, Josh, like, you were predicting $84,000 3 months ago and you were with 5 grand. Like, that's really impressive. But it just is stupid crazy that he was within literally $50. So that's my point. And that's what I want you to take away from this, is that, yes, it was amazing. And now let's talk about his next prediction, okay? Because again, he has equally high conviction that now we're going to $444,000 of Bitcoin. 84 grand was cool. It was a really low probability. Clearly, there was luck involved, right? Because obviously, nobody can predict Bitcoin down to the dollar. Like, clearly, there was a bit of luck involved, but clearly, there was skill involved. And now he's saying that we're going to 440 grand. That's what he's saying. So, you know, that's something to keep in mind. You know, that's where he thinks we're going. Now, there's a common misconception with that prediction. A lot of people are saying, oh, Josh is crazy for saying we're going there this year. No, actually, if you read Josh's tweets and not just put words in his mouth, what he's saying is that he thinks Bitcoin goes to 440 grand at some point this cycle. And Josh thinks it's very likely the cycle extends. What's my opinion on that? I think that kind of makes sense. I'm not going to bet money on it like Josh is. I'm not going to put a few $1 million casually into options with MicroStrategy. Okay, I'm not going to do that. But I do think the odds are very high that this cycle continues. I think the evidence for that is Bitcoin's price history over the course of the last 2.5 years, right? I think that's pretty solid evidence. We're just going up and flat, like a stair step, right? This feels pretty different than previous cycles. And maybe we have an omega candle at some point and we just skyrocket up, but I think at large, it's pretty consistent with that idea. What if this cycle actually extends? The halving is having a diminishing impact on Bitcoin supply. More and more institutions are buying it. America has literally just started buying Bitcoin and we've got a long way to go. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the opportunity you have right now. And let's talk about how you, dear viewer, can increase your Bitcoin stack. Because that is what Josh is trying to do. Josh increased his Bitcoin stack by trading Bitcoin successfully. Am I making this video for saying, hey guys, this is a video of Luke breaking down how Josh made his trade so you can trade too? No, you're not Josh, okay? You haven't been working at Salomon Brothers for decades, right? You haven't been doing this for years, right? You don't have nearly as much money. Well, some of you, a few dozen of you watching probably have 8 figures worth of Bitcoin, right? But the rest of you don't, right? It's like, you're not Josh Mann. You can't trade this, right? So that's my first thing to say is that even with Josh's amazing prediction, you have to admit there was luck involved, right? Like, it's just, there has to be, right? Like, yes, it was skill. Yes, very few people could replicate what he did. But if you are trying to do what Josh is trying to do and acquire more Bitcoin, there are other ways to do it that are far lower risk than taking out options on MicroStrategy on the way up and especially on the way down, right? There are far safer ways to do it. We'll get to that in just a moment when it comes to how to increase your Bitcoin stack sustainably, right? But first, let's emphasize the opportunity, right? For most people, you should not be trading. You should be just buying and hodling, right? $444 of Bitcoin right now at $84,000 per Bitcoin is 520,000 sats. Now, most people think they're too late to Bitcoin, okay? Why do most people delude themselves into thinking, I'm going to follow Josh Mann on Twitter and I'm going to copy his trades and that's going to work out perfectly for me, right? Why do most people think, oh, I got to trade Bitcoin or trade altcoins or trade stupidity trying to get more Bitcoin? It's because they think they're too late to Bitcoin. And that's why I'm going to have this little excerpt here. You're not too late to Bitcoin. You're early. You're stupid early. You're crazy early. You're so early. It's nuts. Nuts. Okay? I know 5 Lukes in Bitcoin. Actually 6. I know 6 Lukes in Bitcoin. Me being one of them. You're early. Stop trading or being a degenerate in options and altcoins or memes trying to double your Bitcoin stack. There are far safer ways to do it, which I'll get to in just a moment. But the point is, you're so early, okay? If you divide all the Satoshis in existence by all humans, you get less than 250,000 Satoshis per person. And the average person in the future is going to have more money than the average person in the present. They're going to have more purchasing power, I should say, right? If you add just one teeny little AI, if you add one economically productive artificial intelligent entity, computer program, humanoid robot, whatever, if you add one AI per human being and factor in not a parrot distribution, a Pareto distribution, not a parrot distribution, I don't know what the heck that is, but if you factor in a Pareto distribution with one AI per human on the planet, that is less than 50,000 sats per person. Okay, you're not too late. Oh, Luke, I'm too late. I only have half a Bitcoin. I hear that all the time. Okay, I was talking to somebody earlier today. He's got he's got a double-digit number of Bitcoin. Let's say he's got well over 10 Bitcoin, between 10 to 100. Let's put it that way. And he feels like he's too late. Because he's been in for years, better part of a decade. He feels like he's too late, right? So I'm telling you, like Michael Saylor felt like he was too late. I've talked to him. I've had dinner with him. Okay, Michael felt like he was late. And he's shared that, both with me and publicly. Michael felt like he was too late. Okay, he's got tens of thousands of coins. People with thousands of coins feel like they were too late. People with tens of coins feel like they're too late. Okay, and if you're watching this, I don't care if you have 50 Bitcoin or if you have $50 worth of Bitcoin. You're not too late at all. Most people will never even have 50,000 Satoshis, right? And if you factor in it even more, like maybe even 10,000 sats, okay, you, dear viewer, are not buying enough Bitcoin. And respectfully, you should not be watching as many videos about Bitcoin as you're probably watching. You shouldn't be obsessing about what other people are doing with their portfolios, with their experience that is not your experience, with their risk tolerance, which is not your risk tolerance. Your number one job is to stack more Bitcoin when it's still stupid dirt cheap. And that's why we'll be talking about ways to accumulate more Bitcoin. But first, as a celebration, I want to buy $444 worth of Bitcoin right here, right now, to celebrate and congratulate Josh's amazing, amazing trade. So the emphasis here is that with $444, which is a good amount of money, but it's not a stupid amount of money. It's a good amount of money. With $440, you can buy 500,000 sats, over 520,000 satoshis. You can buy right now for $440. So instead of wasting your time wondering and looking at the charts, oh my gosh, is Bitcoin going to 100 grand or 200 grand or 440 grand and blah, blah, blah. Instead of spending a couple hours a day wondering how high are we going this cycle, spend a few extra hours, make a couple $100 and buy some more Bitcoin. You're not buying enough Bitcoin. Doesn't matter if it's going to 440 grand this year, next year, or 3 years from now, it's going there. Then it's going to 440 million. Give it a couple decades, but it's going there, right? There is no top to Bitcoin because there is no bottom to fiat. Everything, all of this is just transitory noise. Some people can trade the noise very, very well, and it's mind-blowing how lucky and how skilled they are at trading that noise successfully. But it's still noise. Make sure you're locking down your Bitcoin. But what's the most efficient bang for your buck when it comes to buying more Bitcoin and stacking more Bitcoin? The minimum number of hours spent for the maximum number of returns in terms of Bitcoin? This is the way. Borrowing fiat to buy Bitcoin is an excellent option. I'm not saying that as financial advice. I'm saying it as an option. Many people have a large position in non-Bitcoin assets, stocks or real estate. Other people have a large equity or net worth position in Bitcoin. And so no matter if you're borrowing against real estate to buy more Bitcoin, or you're borrowing against Bitcoin to buy real estate to then use the cash flows to buy more Bitcoin, or you're borrowing against Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin, no matter what your situation is, no matter if you're real estate rich, Bitcoin rich, whatever rich, you have options available to you to accelerate your Bitcoin buying, right? Let's say you're able to take out a low risk, reasonable loan denominated in fiat for, let's say, a 10-year time horizon. You potentially have the ability right now to stack another 5% more Bitcoin. So ask yourself, which is a better use of your time? If you have less than 1 Bitcoin, don't worry about this. Your time is probably more effective going out there and earning more cash to then convert into Bitcoin, bring more productivity to the market. However, I had this conversation earlier today with one of my clients at the Bitcoin Advisor. He was trying to do a side hustle, and we had this conversation. Actually, I've had this conversation a lot. People like, I was talking to one client earlier today who is trying to make a little book flipping business as like a side hustle on Amazon. Another client literally today was going to become a baker and bake on the side. But it's like, for both of them, I was like, dude, be more efficient with your time. It's like, if you have a strong asset balance sheet, right? If you have some consultation with how to leverage that balance sheet responsibly, either in dollars or in terms of Bitcoin, like, you can realistically increase your Bitcoin stack by 10%, like this month. And you got to ask yourself, which is better worth your time? Sure, there is a risk to any kind of leverage, but there's also a risk in leveraging your time. What's the higher risk? Taking some balance sheet leverage to increase your stack by 10%, or sacrificing another 500 hours of your year this year, spending it to buy maybe another 3% worth of your stack. So specifically, what am I talking about here? The way to get the best products offered to you with the best terms and the longest amortizations and the lowest risk, the best way is to have multi-jurisdictional, multi-sig with 0 single point of failure. This is why I've been advocating for multi-sig for literally years now. I was the first American at the Bitcoin Advisor. For those that don't know, the Bitcoin Advisor has been helping people with large Bitcoin stacks since 2016. Over $1 billion of Bitcoin has been moved or been looked over at the Bitcoin Advisor. I have clients that have hundreds of Bitcoin. I have clients that are trying to get to 1/3 of a Bitcoin. I don't care how much Bitcoin you have. I care about you ending up with more Bitcoin under our services than when you started with. And so if you want to end up with more Bitcoin, feel free to reach out. The fastest way to end up with more Bitcoin is reduce your risk. Your estate tax is probably going to be 40%. Capital gains tax is a massive cost. The risk of you losing your Bitcoin if you're keeping it on stupid freaking Coinbase is really high. Stop worrying about what Josh Mann is doing with his trading portfolio if you still have coins in Coinbase or Kraken or Gemini or any of the exchanges, including River, by the way, which I literally just used a few moments ago buying $444 of Bitcoin. Stop worrying about what other people are doing if you're accepting the negligent risk of keeping your coins on exchanges. The fastest way to get access to amazing financial products is to lower your risk. Sure, you can take out loans on Coinbase, but guess what? You're going to be paying 10% intangible risk plus maybe an 8% interest rate on a 1 year or 3 month loan. That's crazy. That's nuts. Guess what? You'll get a longer term, lower interest rate with less risk if you take self-custody in the specific kind of setup that's escrow compatible. This is the future. This is the future. This is how your grandma, this is how your parents, this is how your cousins, this is how your loved ones are going to buy Bitcoin. You're very fortunate. You are buying Bitcoin when it was dirt cheap, when it was $10,000, $1,000, $50,000. You're fortunate. You're using your cash flows to buy Bitcoin. But your loved ones, when they start taking Bitcoin exposure in the future, as their real estate and their stocks continue to grow in value, most of them aren't going to be converting their Social Security checks into Bitcoin. Most of them are going to be taking a 5% loan, take 5% loan against their underlying assets and buying Bitcoin. For your higher net worth loved ones, these are going to be the products they're going to be using. You have less in common with the near future than the ancient past. And so read the information on the screen here. It is possible, both now as well as products rapidly accelerating down the line, to have interest rates less than 10%, 8%, 6%, 4.5%, 5%, whatever, right? Very low interest loans with zero margin call, zero over collateralization, zero monthly payments, and zero counterparty risk. Okay, everything I just said there independently is critical. If you're taking out a loan against a house or against your Bitcoin and you're paying, let's say, 9% interest, guess what? There's counterparty risk. If you're using a central exchange or custodian of your Bitcoin, you are paying counterparty risk. And probably you've had over collateralized the loan 2 to 1. Let's say your interest rate is 12%, because most institutions that have single points of failure are charging a large interest rate because it's higher risk involved, right? Let's say you're paying a 12% interest rate. Let's say you got to put up 2x the Bitcoin, and let's say you think there's a 5% chance of that counterparty risk catching up to bite you in the butt. 5% for the underlying, 5% for the over collateralized, plus the 12%, you're paying at least 22% plus probably 2% origination fee. You're paying a 24% interest rate on your little Bitcoin loan that's maybe going to last 1 to 3 years. Are you crazy? I'm not fully against that. Like, you'll probably be fine, but my goodness, why would you do that when you have this option staring at you in the face? So if you want to take advantage of this, if you want to say, hey, Luke, I want to borrow $1 million, $500,000, 100 grand, 50 grand, whatever it is, if you have any interest in taking out fiat loans during the bull market and taking out Bitcoin loans on the way down from the bull market, right? Because both of those do have their time and place at deferring taxes as well as increasing your Bitcoin stack, feel free to reach out. Text the phone number on the screen. Let's have a conversation while I still have time and I'm not overwhelmed. Let's have a conversation about how to do that. Because I do believe you're going to rapidly realize if you just take a couple hours of your time and lower your self-custody risk, and if you lower that self-custody risk, you can justify increasing risk with this kind of thing. I think it is lower risk to have some kind of debt in buying Bitcoin in proper self-custody than to be fully spot, no debt, sitting on an exchange or sitting in a single point of failure setup like a single sig, a hot wallet, cold wallet, whatever. In my opinion, that's lower risk. As crazy and counterintuitive as that sounds. Everything has risk in life, and by keeping your coins on exchanges or in a single point of failure, you're paying an annual rate of risk. Let's say it's 5%. Well, guess what? If we can reduce that 5% annual rate of risk to 0.5%, literally 10x or a tenth the risk, now you can justify borrowing some money to buy Bitcoin because you can justify going out on the risk curve a little bit because you're a lower custody risk. And because you're in a lower custody risk, you're going to get offered lower interest rates. You're going to get offered better terms. It's a win-win-win. And so if you're somebody that, like Josh Mann, wants to increase your Bitcoin stack, but unlike Josh Mann, you're not a genius and you can't predict Bitcoin price 129 days in advance, literally down to like statistically something that's so crazy it actually happened. He still can't believe it. Like, if you're somebody that's realistic, like, this is the way to do it, right? This is something I do. This is something that I'm going to continue to do, right? Every couple of years, I'm going to plan on doing this and stacking another couple percent of my stack, right? If, like, sure, you can trade like Josh Mann and try to get 33% more on your money. Sure, you can try to trade an altcoin. Oh, I only have 10% of my portfolio in altcoin, and I'm going to double my Bitcoin with that 10%. Well, if that altcoin doubles Bitcoin's performance, I'm going to end up with 10% more Bitcoin. Woohoo! It's like, why don't you just do this? It's lower risk. There's less tax consequences. You're going to sleep better at night, and that's really important because everything has a time cost, and that time you can reinvest into a business or some sort of new way to get income to thus buy more Bitcoin. It's like, it's so obvious. And if you're just doing some intelligent leverage every couple years, refinancing, doing whatever, as better and better things are offered to you, what's going to happen is every couple of years, you're going to increase your entire Bitcoin stack by 2% or 5% or so. And all of a sudden, the 0.6% you're paying the Bitcoin advisor is completely irrelevant. You're willing to pay 0.6% a year to the escrow compatible multi-sig provider because it's getting you an interest rate that's 4% lower than you're getting anywhere else. So I've kind of ranted at the end of the video here. Yes, this is self-promotion, and yes, you should text me. Yes, this is my financial incentive to encourage you to do this. But at the end of the day, what I care about is ending up with more Bitcoin. And I'm a realist. I can't trade the market. I don't want to learn how to trade the market. I have met hundreds of people that have tried to trade the market. I have met literally 4 that have done it successfully. And Josh is one of them. And it's amazing. But don't be one of the 996 people that think you're Josh Mann. You're not. Most of you are going to get wrecked, including myself. I am smart enough to recognize I'm stupid and I can't trade the price, right? So your only options to buy more Bitcoin are sacrifice time, take risk in sacrificing your time to buy Bitcoin, take risk in trading the price action to buy more Bitcoin, or take intelligent risk with increasing your Bitcoin stack by a couple percent every year or every Bitcoin cycle, whatever. Between those 3 options, it's like option number 3 is the obvious one. And so for those of you that want to increase your Bitcoin stack, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. And if you're somebody that disagrees with me and you would rather be trading your time for the rest of your life trying to stack more Bitcoin or trying to trade the markets, trying to stack more Bitcoin, to both of those groups and cohorts, good luck. I wish you the best. I know what I'm doing with my time and my money and my focus, and that's my encouragement for you. I hope you're buying more Bitcoin. I hope this video is encouragement for you to buy more Bitcoin. And if you're somebody that has an interest in acquiring Bitcoin in creative ways, feel free to let me know. Happy to have a conversation. And we will see. We will see if Josh's prediction of $444,000 of Bitcoin this cycle comes true. If it comes true, I'm not ready. I'm definitely not ready, and you probably aren't ready either. It's going to be very exciting, very terrifying for those that aren't prepared, and it's going to be a blast. So we'll see, Josh. We'll see if I'll be making part 2 of this video. I kind of hope we am. I kind of hope I will. Yeah. Well done, Josh. See you at 440 grand. Bye.